From what I've seen, it's an easier time now to be alive as a strong, disciplined man. Of masculinity, if you've got some, it leaves the world for the taking right now because your competition's disappeared.
I get it as a young man, it's all about that cash, right? What comes after cash? You're going to get to the point where cash doesn't matter. You will, in this lifetime, get to the point where another $1 million means zero for you.
Yeah.
So what's next? A part of your soul as a man is happy because you are practicing to be a warrior, to defend your people, your family. It's something we should all do, and I swear there's a testosterone boost involved, in natural testosterone. And that bonding that you do, the struggle bonding, that's what boot camps are all about. That's how soldiers and units are built. They put men through struggle together, they build those relationships.
Guys, welcome back. I'm here with the Sartorial Shooter, real name Jules. He's an ex-military professional and a very good friend of the Tates. He's a tailor. Sartor in Latin means the tailor, and you're a shooter. So he's Sartorial Shooter, and we're here to sit down and have a chat about masculinity, your values, and how you've really packaged everything together as what I would see as a kind of a real-life James Bond. At this stage in your life. And I'm here with my host Dario. We did the Justin Waller pod together, and you're now out in Dubai doing your thing, doing these vans. We'll have to show you the van actually.
Oh, fantastic.
Got these custom vans.
Bruv.
Yeah.
And that's something you do professionally?
Mm-hmm.
I'm in the market for one of them.
That's what. There we go.
Man, if you can spend your money with the Warren Brothers, you spend it with Warren Brothers. I didn't know we had that.
It's a brand new venture. I've been doing camper van conversions back in the UK, and I'm looking to bring this over to Dubai.
We need to make sure the brothers know that, because right now, traffic is getting such in Dubai. There's no point owning all these fast cars that I have. It's van life is the way.
Yeah.
When the brothers here know that you are offering that, get ready, bruv. There's going to be a lot of demand.
Yeah.
I'll be your first
exciting.
client, inshallah.
Let's go.
Thank you very much.
These things are awesome as well. Got a PlayStation in the back.
Yeah, all for it. All about it.
Awesome. In your opinion, just to kick this off, Jules, what should a young man? What are the 5 sort of skills he should aim to develop as he grows up? What makes a guy with good morals and good ethics and puts him in a place to be successful?
Yeah, indeed. It's a tricky one. If you're in the West, there's a lot you need to unpack. We all know about that, right? The Matrix tries hard from day one to program you into this simpy, thirsty, scared little creature, controlled slave. Slavery is the most profitable industry throughout history. It's still very much present, especially in the West. It's just it doesn't feel like slavery from the outside. Clearly it is. Debt slavery, go to uni, then get a good job slavery, all these things, time slavery. So I think you need to unpack all of that programming first. And then you just need the right people around you. I'd say the biggest thing for really progressing as a man, and obviously we're a part of this, right, with the war, is brotherhood. You need the right men around you, and society tries to take that away from you. The amount of times I've seen men shamed because they'd rather go out and venture with their lads than sit at home and watch Netflix with their wife, regardless of how lovely their wife is. Society really does try and push you away from brotherhood. So I think you need to prioritize that above all else.
What do you get out of that brotherhood? Where do you find the advantages are? Because so many guys have lost that now.
Mm-hmm. Well, look, I'll refer to Andrew and Tristan Tate, the 2 most impactful men in my life in terms of brotherhood. When you're around people of that sort of frequency, and even the relationship between Andrew and Tristan is a good example, bruv, there's no slacking. Like, they do not let themselves have a single day off. They're training multiple times a day. They're pushing to make money all the time. When you're around men at that level of both high output and accountability, your brother drops and does push-ups, you're going to not do them? Of course you are. So one of them's up at 6 a.m. in the gym, the other one's going to have to get up. When you're around men who push each other in that way, it's infinitely more powerful than trying to be a lone warrior, like a lone wolf.
Did you have brothers or sisters yourself by blood?
Definitely. I have my brother.
Of course.
Who was helping me run this tailor shop, which is great. The big part of this tailor shop is brothers winning together, whether that's my staff or my family. The idea is this is a venture where even as clients, you come in, you leave with an energetic boost and, of course, a style boost, which can give ROI in many different areas, from dating to professional life, you name it. So that's the ethos of this whole place, the brotherhood piece.
I've got 2 younger brothers, and I'm trying to build that relationship with them. And I was just wondering, give me a rundown on how you did it with Ben.
Yep.
And how that relationship's built over time, because I'm struggling at the moment with them being a little bit indoctrinated into the West. My brother went to school a little bit behind me. He's had social media a little bit longer than me, and he's a little bit indoctrinated, and I want to get him out of it. I want to get him on the straight and narrow.
It's a tricky one, yeah, especially when you've got the Gen Z type addicted to the phones.
Yes.
And their minds are owned by the algorithm. You have to give props to the tech companies. They've owned minds of the youth globally.
They're good at it.
That's why my kids don't touch phones. There's no YouTube. There's none of that until they're 18.
Fantastic.
I view these phones as more dangerous than drinking or driving. And if my kids aren't going to drink or drive, until they're a certain age legally, then they ain't touching these things. They're toxic. So I think it's get them out in the world, man. Get them off the screens. Get them in the gym. Get them fighting. Get them training in the camps. Go on adventures with them. Just do the old school man stuff: hunting, shooting, fighting. I think that's the remedy to this screen addiction that men are facing nowadays.
That's what we need to put together as a couple of hunting trips.
Definitely for that.
Perfect. And then you eat your kill that night by the fire. That's bonding, man. And also, hunting's fun, stalking, shooting, but then you got to carry it out. That struggle and that bonding that you do, the struggle bonding. That's what boot camps are all about. That's how soldiers and units are built. They put men through struggle together. They build those relationships. So utilize that.
All right, if my brothers are watching right now, you're going to get the call soon enough. You're going to be called up to hunt elk in the woods of Alaska.
I'll skip out on that trip, brother. Let me know how it goes. It sounds like hard work.
Yeah, where would you recommend for that kind of stuff?
Accessibility-wise, Eastern Europe's good for hunting for boar. There's all sorts of exotic stuff in Africa. There's some interesting types of rare goats in the stands and things. But I'd go somewhere like Bulgaria and I'd hunt boar, because boar are a pest anyway, so it's good to kill them. Yeah. Obviously, I wouldn't eat those. But you could eat a lot of deer as well that are and there's so much of them that you're not killing anything endangered. And indeed, if anyone wants to criticize what you're doing, well, they go to the supermarket and they buy their meat. Yeah. How is it different for you going and hunting?
Have you ever seen the video that they do in America where they go down and mow down the boars on a machine gun?
Funny you say that. I have a trip lined up in Latin America this summer from a helicopter with a belt fed.
Wow, that's going to be insane.
I've done heli hunting before just with an AR, so an assault rifle, but it's time for belt fed now. So it'll be fun. And tracer rounds at night so you can see the rounds. It's good fun. I'm not a big gun head. I view shooting and weapons and tactics as essential man tools, but I don't geek out of them. I don't geek out about it. Yeah. But belt fed from a helicopter at night with tracer rounds, I'll geek out about that. That's fun. That's cool.
That's a bit of fun. How do you recommend getting started in running a gun? We spoke earlier. I said I've fired a gun a couple of times. I don't know how to run a gun. Just explain to guys in the audience what's running a gun. Why is it essential? How does it make you feel as a man?
I think all throughout history, men have trained in the warrior arts. At one point it was swords, it was spears. Now it's firearms. Where throughout history have the leader men, the capable men, not been capable with using the weapons of the day and age? Only in today's day and age where we've been trained away from it. Now within Islam, it is sunnah to know how to defend yourself, to know how to use a weapon. I think any traditional man would want to know these skills, but it is hard to access them unless you sign your life away to a government, right? And get indoctrinated to be a tool of the government. So you can find these skills yourself. A lot of people think proficiency with weapons is just being able to shoot, standing still. It's not. You need to shoot, move, communicate, work as a team. Maintain that situational awareness when you're entering a room with a bunch of your mates. It's not just about the threat. It's about not shooting each other. There's a fair bit that goes into it. So I'd try and find some good high-level private sector training. First, learn the 4 rules of firearm safety, learn, weapons manipulation, changing mags, all these sorts of things. Then get to the dynamic stuff where you're moving while shooting multiple targets. There is application for what's known as IPSEC, so practical shooting. It's more of a sport thing, but if you get good at that, in theory, you'd be better at shooting and moving. But in the US, there's a lot of places where you can learn not just how to shoot, but the actual tactics involved. But it is something you're going to have to research, something you have to put time into. I also strongly recommend when you're capable enough to do what's known as force-on-force training. That's where you're using real weapons, but instead of rounds being, bullets that will go through you, it's just marker rounds. And so using simunition for force-on-force training, having bad guys shoot back at you, that's when you go through certain levels of stress such that you build neural pathways that you would then rely on in an actual gunfight. So you can face that stress of, well, hang on, if I stick my head around here, I could get shot. Yeah. You want to feel that. You don't just want to be shooting at paper and think, hey, I know how to run a weapon now. You need that force-on-force. You need that enemy trying to shoot you back. There are safe and professional ways to seek that out. Type in force-on-force training and look for that around the world. America is pretty much the hub for these things. Obviously, if you've got a mate like me, then I can hook that up as well. But
I'm gonna try that.
Go get that done.
It's good fun. Yeah, it's you'll never sleep better than when you're doing that sort of training with your lads, because you're meant to. On a deep level, a part of your soul as a man is happy because you are practicing to be a warrior, to defend your people, your family. It's something we should all do. And I swear there's a testosterone boost involved, a natural testosterone boost. I've seen your videos on testosterone. Learning to shoot, move, communicate at a high level, that boosts testosterone, I swear.
That's a video. One of my best performing videos is Big, Rich and Dangerous.
Oh, nice. That's cool.
That's one I do. It's actually after a conversation with you I made that video.
Oh, really?
Yeah, when we spoke in Bangkok, I made that video and it did, I think, 100,000 views or just over. And I think that's what you can see by the views, that's what guys want to be. They're just a little bit afraid to be it right now. So don't be afraid to be it.
There's nothing wrong. I mean, what other species, intelligent species out there, doesn't know how to defend itself?
Yeah.
The fact that men can grow up and not know how to operate a rifle, that is unnatural. We should be capable, not for anything nefarious, but in order to, wherever you are in the world, whatever situations you're faced, you should be, at least in terms of basic competency, proficient in the warrior arts. Nowadays, that's not just punching. That does involve shooting. I think every man should lock it in. It's not hard to do, really. It's not that difficult.
I wanted to ask you what it was like to actually get into the intelligence sector. So you worked in the Australian intelligence before. So how did you kind of go into that, and what was the career progression like?
Indeed, long time ago. Just to be clear, we're talking like 15 years ago. So
Okay.
for me, I was an infantry soldier. That's all I wanted to be. And I showed proficiency with languages, such that I became the most highly qualified Farsi, which is Iran, and Dari, which is Afghanistan, linguist in the Army, Navy, Air Force.
Wow.
And that was the second language that I learnt. The first language got me on a year-long course. First language was East Timor. I did 2 tours in East Timor, wonderful country that not many people know about. It's got some pretty dark history. I'd like to believe the Australians did good work in that country. And from there, got the tap on the shoulder, went into intelligence corps within the Army. There were a few other taps on the shoulder at other occasions, and did some other work as well. For me, I think the reality of the James Bond work is it's not that sexy. You're not like James Bond in the movies. He kicks down doors, he shoots people. The second you do that, if you're on some sort of non-official cover job, you're locked up in prison forever.
Yeah.
That's not how it works. Real intelligence work it's like being able to rob a bank, but then come back the next week and rob that bank again for years. It's subtle. It's unseen. You shouldn't be big and rippling and win muscles. You should be that guy who doesn't get noticed. I've had some issues with surveillance jobs. I stand out a bit.
Yeah.
Again, many years ago.
Where do you hide?
Yeah.
Where do we put Jules?
Doesn't really work. But the one thing I'm supremely grateful for was exposure to what's known as human intelligence. And working with some of the best psychologists in the game to learn how to profile people, understand their belief systems, which you can then associate with and validate to really build strong rapport. It's something known as agent handling, where you build relationships in a targeted manner with which to essentially get people to do things for you. It is a key tenet of espionage, but it's technically known as human intelligence. People who've put work into that, they are good with people. And as you know, Harvard Business Review did a study that showed, I think it was something like 85% of success, sort of determination when it comes to business is people. Like if you learn the people skills, you learn how to put it simply, like if you learn human chess, you learn how to run people. People run the world. Yeah. So you can run your world, not in any sort of nefarious way. But that's human intelligence really helped me with the people element, and that played very well throughout a career in the private security sector.
Okay.
I call it bending reality.
Yeah, or sculpting relationships and all
Yeah.
these things. Yeah, it's real.
Very important stuff.
It's massive. And the elite of the world, the people who are born to money and high level, royals, they just know how to do these things. They know how to profile someone, to build relationships with them, to get them bought into something, to go and do whatever you want for you, whether it's business or anything else. That can be learnt. That skill to look on the dark side, it's manipulative, but on the productive side, where everyone wins, it's it's leadership. It's getting people engaged and wanting to achieve the same thing as you. And so that background in human intelligence and really understanding how to play human chess was incredibly useful for both my career throughout, some pretty tricky places, but also managing risk, picking the red flags in people, knowing when someone's trying to play me. I think every man should put some time into reading about human intelligence and then learning those skills.
Would you recommend anywhere to start for that kind of stuff?
Governments like to keep a pretty close hold, right?
Yeah.
Like the second oldest profession in the world is espionage. Like kings, queens throughout history, they've used their spies as a form of diplomacy.
And if you're smart, you know the first.
Yeah, indeed. And there's often interplay between the two, funnily enough.
Yeah.
There's a lot of case studies throughout history where honey traps and these things have been used.
Yeah.
Where to start with human intelligence? I don't know of anyone who's offering in the private sector at a credible sort of level. There's a lot of people who are like, hey, come and learn how to play people like the CIA. It's all nonsense, bro.
Got you.
So yeah, I'd say targeted conversations with former intelligence professionals is where you're going to learn that sort of stuff.
Do you read much?
The only thing I read is the Quran and things tied into Islam, just time-wise. I try and, part of my sleep routine is to read something regarding my faith each night, just to get off the phone and let myself have a proper sleep. But no, I all the self-help books, all the business books, I don't need, I don't want to, I've got enough money. I've built enough businesses. I'm not looking for that edge. The only thing I really read about is my faith, because there's unlimited learning to be done in that realm.
And what does the Quran teach a young man?
Oh, wow, man, heavy. So the Quran, the Hadith, all the associated. I mean, even there's a lot of content and discussions on YouTube. For me, Islam is a very disciplined way of living. It enforces certain self-accountability, certain contributions to your brotherhood, to your community. It helps you understand the big questions, like why are we here? What is the meaning? Like, I get it as a young man, it's all about that cash, right? What comes after cash? You're going to get to the point where cash doesn't matter. You will, in this lifetime, get to the point where another $1 million means zero for you.
Yep.
So what's next? And for me, faith is a big part of that. Obviously, quality time with family, with your inner circle. And also, one thing that I found really interesting, Islam talks a lot about the intent that you go in with something. They talk a lot about the underlying energy with which you approach certain tasks. What I've noticed, a lot of ultra-high net worth individuals, a lot of royals, they're very conscious in setting their intent, whether it's for a day or for a certain project. I'm learning more and more the importance of that underlying energy with which you approach everything in life, and Islam has really helped me, because the first thing you do as a Muslim is when you wake up, is you pray and you set your intent for the day. Like it's for me, Islam is a lot more than a religion. It's a code with which to get the most out of each day and to be the best version of yourself. It enforces discipline on you in a certain way.
My girlfriend sent me a message on Instagram earlier. It was a post, and it was about theta brainwaves.
Yeah.
And that's the state that you're in just before you fall asleep, and the state when you wake up in the morning. And that's what you're most likely to have your subconscious programmed in those times. So it's very interesting to know that you wake up and pray instantly and nourish the mind with positive affirmations about yourself. What does a prayer look like in the morning?
Okay, so when you're praying, you say various things, and I'm not going to go through them word for word, even though I can. I've learned the Arabic involved, yes.
Amazing.
Well, I'll give you some examples. One of the lines that you say each time you pray is, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. I seek refuge in Allah from Satan the accursed. So you are reminding yourself, evil is out there, and I'm trying to stay on what's called Sirat al-Mustaqim, the straight path,
Yep.
and not get pulled off by evil. And in Islam, you conceptualize that Satan is whispering in your ears, that the demons, jinn as they're known, is whispering, trying to pull you towards temptation, trying to pull you perhaps to be unscrupulous in business dealings to get the extra profit.
Yep.
So you are reminding yourself, I want to stay on the straight path, I want to be a good person, help me be that. And you're also showing a lot of gratitude. You are humbling yourself through physical prostration to a higher force. And part of the issue with a lot of guys, especially when they have a bit of money, is they start to think, I'm the biggest thing in the universe, I'm the big boss. Whereas we know that gratitude, being grateful, that has a physiological benefit. And also, if you approach, if you approach from abundance and, hey, I'm grateful for what I've got, as opposed to scarcity, oh, I need more, you're going to do better. So you really are, I don't want to say anything disrespectful, but for me, prayer is like discipline and gratitude and humility mantras that you say regularly throughout the day to ground yourself in the fact that you're not the biggest thing in the universe. There are more important things than money. And it is your job to try and be the best human you can be. You're reminding yourself of that regularly throughout the day. Incredible system for life.
And I think, and tell me what you think about this, Jules, but I think you can do that no matter your faith, no matter what you believe in. I think that's a very helpful thing for a young man to do in his life.
Definitely, 100%. I mean, when I put my kids to bed, and I've done this since they could talk, we all take turns saying 3 things we're grateful for every night. One of my ways to try and keep them grounded, because, they're not growing up rough like I did.
No.
They're doing
You've got a pretty cool place to hang out.
Yeah, dude, they're doing okay, alhamdulillah. But I think, yes, you can sort of administer faith, but what I would say is certain faiths, with Islam being the most powerful in my view, were written a long time ago.
Yep.
Islam is practiced by over 2 billion people. Perhaps to think that you can do it yourself better is a bit arrogant.
I appreciate that. How were you drawn to Islam out of all the religions? Because I'm very open to the idea. I'm currently exploring religion. And how were you drawn into it?
So 15 years in the Middle East. I've lived in Iran, Syria, Saudi, Iraq. So a lot of time around Muslims, and I realized the men who I respected most, the ones who I trust the most in business, in family matters, they were all very devout Muslims. Like someone who was what's known as on the deen, someone who's taking their religion seriously, that's a good man. That's a strong man. You have to be strong in Islam. You're meant to grow a beard because it's masculine. For example, when it comes to dogs, you can have a guard dog with a purpose, but you can't have some little yap handbag dog. It's very masculine. Like everything,
Yes.
It's a strong believer is better than a weak believer. You should be capable in all realms of life. Like to me, it's the most masculine and the most clear religion out there. And I've just, through studying it over years, I kind of realized, oh, that makes sense, or that makes sense, or this makes sense. Wait a sec, maybe this is the truth. And if you really reflect on it, I think it's inevitable you get to the point where you realize, hang on, this is the truth. It's time for me to start paying attention. Perhaps there's a truth that's been, and a system that's been there longer than us, that is superior to any Western culture-informed way of living or any sort of self-centered way of living. That's what I'd reflect on.
Well, I think part of the reason that we're in such trouble all over the world now is a lack of religion, or a lack of serious religion.
100%. The Western society is godless, and look what's happening as a result. People are not accountable to anything, so why wouldn't they do whatever they want to do?
Have you got any idea why that's going on?
100%. It's control of the masses, brother. Easy.
Yeah.
It's all control. Like, look, let's look at it politically and economically. Politically, the elite know there's a lot more of the masses than there are of the elite. Why would you want men banded together, strong, disciplined, capable?
Yeah.
That's a threat. Like, that can cause revolutions. A bunch of guys who are addicted to their phone, and as Tate says, I'd love to protest, but I've got to be home by 9 or the wife will be angry.
Yeah.
That's an easily controlled sheeple population, right?
Yeah.
And when you look at it economically, if I want to sell certain products, well, who's going to be easier to sell to? A man who has strong family, strong faith, strong brotherhood, strong fitness, strong connection to God. Or someone who's like, oh, I don't feel so good today. What can I buy to make myself feel better? Oh, there's a marketing message telling me I should buy this and I'll feel better. Oh, I'll buy it. So both politically and economically, the big power players and individuals, entities out there, they benefit from men being weak and easily led. And that's why you see religion being absolutely crapped on in the West, excuse my language, because, again, if a man is on his faith and he's a strong, disciplined, religious man, all that marketing stuff doesn't work. All those fear campaigns by the government doesn't work because he knows there's a higher truth than what the TV tells him.
Where do you see the world going in probably around the years of 2030 in terms of geographical power?
I mean, I definitely think the West is failing. I think a Trump win would change that, definitely. I actually pray for the leftists to be defeated because they're true evil. They're the ones starting the wars. They're the ones pushing all these degenerate agendas on kids' minds. So I think that's a huge turning point in history. I think Elon obviously buying X, that was a big moment as to where history's, where humanity's going. I think there'll be two different camps, if you will. There'll be those who are, hey, embrace the screen. No, if my son wants to be on his iPad all day, that's fine. Fitness is a microaggression, all that sort of stuff. And then there'll be the types who I reject all of that. I have higher meaning in life, and also my kids do as well. So I think you'll see, and actually there was a futurist, I forget his name, but he predicted this like 100 years ago. He said there'd be two types of humans. There'd be those who are tall and fit and living in the real world, and those who are bunched over and obese and living in the technological world. So people have predicted this.
I think that's where we're going.
It's an easier time than ever, I think. I'm quite young, but from what I've seen, it's an easier time now to be alive as a strong, disciplined man. Masculinity, if you've got some, it leaves the world for the taking right now because your competition's disappeared.
People aren't trying. This is something I learned spending time with the Tates. I used to have one job, one side hustle. I'd be tired at the end of the day. I'd need weekends. Being around the Tates for a while and the War and Brotherhood, X amount of businesses, while still holding big jobs, constant training and no stress, no tiredness. Like people are not, and Tate says it all the time, people aren't trying. They're not actually trying. Until you're around someone like Tate or, the really high performing Warren brothers, you don't realize what it is to try. It's a different frequency to live at. There's an actual energetic frequency of some sort going on here. Until you've been around people at that frequency, you don't know what it is to try and you aren't trying. And that's something that Tate has inspired tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of young men to go, oh, hang on. All of my peers are just sitting around. I want to be that guy who's different. I actually want to try in all realms. So I think it's a very noble thing to actually try. To your point, most people aren't.
How much do you rest in comparison to how much you try?
I don't really believe... Look, I believe in... Okay, so the idea of resting, let's get off phones and let's just hang around to rest. And I believe in that.
Okay.
For me to be rested, I will make sure I do cardio in the morning. I'll make sure I do proper sleep hygiene at night. Of course I lift it without... I'll make sure that I eat properly. I'll avoid all these... like late nights out, these sorts of things, they don't help you be better as a human. So instead of not doing to rest, I believe in doing active rest. Be real disciplined. Don't look at this phone for an hour before bed. Look how different you sleep.
Yeah.
That's a superior way to be rested rather than, I need a weekend. I need to go and sit on a beach and drink or something. That's not efficient rest.
It's interesting. It's something I've been thinking about, having been go for a long time. How do you channel into that energy of, I think it is an energy of being around the people. But for me, sometimes I do feel burnt out. I'll be honest with you. Right now, I'm not a superhero. So sometimes I get burnt out. You ever get burnt out? Or?
Oh, yeah, 100%. I've been burnt out to the point where my body's really caused issues. My mind can keep going. I'm 41 now. I can work 20-hour days, no worries, but my body just gives out. So it is something you need to be aware of. This is where I think the love and support of a good woman helps a lot. That feminine energy, that ability for her to put, when they put their hand on you, stroke your head or put it on your neck, and you just go, ah.
Yeah.
And that's why man and women were created to be a unit that support each other. When you have a good giving woman who feeds you, who takes care of you, who reminds you to enjoy life and not just work till you die, I think that's a key component of, yes, be a high-performing man, but also know how to relax, rejuvenate.
Take it
And
easy.
I think this comes back to the way we're meant to live. I don't think men and women are meant to be around each other all the time. The word husband, as I understand it, comes from house bound. No man wants to be bound to a house. I think the way we're meant to live,
Thank you.
call me old-fashioned, is the men are meant to be out as a tribe, hunting, pillaging, doing whatever you do, and then come back into camp, rest, recover, make babies as you would, back in the day where these things were pretty much all that mattered in terms of, the species being progressed. But then you're back out with the lads. I think we are meant to be around men doing manly stuff a lot more than we're meant to be around women all the time. But you cannot deny that there is a healing, both energetic and physical elements of being around a good woman. So I think that's, to answer your question, a good, giving, loyal, kind, feminine woman is a superhuman healing and recovering element in any man's life.
And what do you teach your son in regards to looking for a woman like that?
Very conscious, very conscious. You can even ask him. You say to my boy, what do you look for in a good woman?
Yep.
He'll say, look for someone who's a giver, not a taker. Because I think that's the main thing. A lot of people, they'll see some attractive girl or an attractive guy, if it's a woman,
Yep.
but they'll be a taker. They won't have good morals. Find someone who gets energy from giving to you. You know the love languages, right?
Yes.
Show me a man whose love language isn't acts of service.
Yeah.
We all want it.
Yeah.
Like that's what we want. So find a woman who gets energy from giving to you, whether it's cooking or maintaining a nice house or helping you with your businesses or your admin or whatever. Being that woman who thinks, hang on, you're looking a bit tired. Let me tell you, hey, you need a massage. I'm going to book it for you. Look for those sorts of giving, considerate women. That's the number one thing. Not emotions, not looks. My goodness, don't pick a woman based on her looks. Find a good giving woman
Get yourself in big trouble.
who has the same expectations from a relationship. The man brings this, the woman brings that. Traditional values, ideally faith.
Yes.
I think nowadays, if you want to find a good woman, how are you going to do it without faith? Because if a woman isn't accountable, whether it's with her family, being faith-based, or herself with her faith, by the time these women aren't fresh and fit at the age of 20, they have 20, 30 bodies. That's a lot of trauma. And the studies show after, is it 5 or 10 partners?
Yeah.
It's very hard to do lifelong pair bonding because it's not a natural thing. And in many societies around the world today, it's understood that it's harmful if a woman has 20 bodies at the age of 20. Somehow in the West, we've forgotten that. They've forgotten that. I'm not in the West.
They've forgotten that when they teach you in school that, I've grown up in that era, and we were very much taught in school that it was that women and men are the same.
Yeah.
It's okay for a woman to see whoever she wants, and for a long time in my life, that was normal. That was like, yeah, of course, she's allowed to do that. And it took some re-educating, a lot of re-educating for me.
I think a lot of people feel unfulfilled as well because they're not running true to the alignment of what they should be. Like a guy, as a man, I feel fulfilled when I do take care of a woman, when I am protecting, I am a provider. And I think a lot of guys that don't go along that line, and because they've been taught a different way, they never feel that level of fulfillment because they're not actually staying true to what a man should be. So if you go to pay the bill at a dinner table, that makes me feel good. It makes me feel like a man, and that's a fulfillment, a sense of fulfillment for me.
There it is. And it's an ongoing thing. The more feedback you get from your day-to-day life that you are a good man, that you are a provider, that you're a protector, the more fuel you have to go and be a good man and a provider and protector. I could retire on a beach forever with the amount of money that I have passive. Fine. But my family couldn't. What about, my kids? What about their kids? What about my staff? Like, being that provider and protector is incredible fuel to keep going. I think it's a very honorable thing.
That's a nice mindset switch, actually, on because I think a lot of guys are caught up in online money space. Even myself, sometimes we're making all this to retire and sit on the beach, but just flip it around and think this is the goal. You're living the goal.
Myth, bro. Retirement's a myth. You need to, there's studies done. Pilots, when they stop flying, they just die a few years later, because they've lived such a regimented life. They're told, be here at this time, be here at that time. That's just one example of the fact that men need a reason to get up in the morning. Retirement is a psyop that's trying to make you put up with an unhappy existence until you're 60, and then maybe you enjoy yourself. But when your body's too blown out to enjoy any of the toys you can afford, what a joke. Yeah. I will never retire. I'll work till I die, but I'm working on my terms. And just as I do in this shop or any other of my businesses, if I don't want to work with someone, there's the door. I've done that in this shop. Some people have been rude to my staff. I'm going to stop this conversation here. I wish you all the best, but I need you to leave now. I'm not joking. I need you to leave now. Thank you. Like, if you can at least get to the point where you're working on your terms, not for money, and you're working to make your people win, to me, that's the biggest flex. Making your people win, helping your people, not just in terms of money, but also meaningful work. If you are a man such that you have enough complexity in your life to say to your beloved wife, please manage this business for me, manage these books, manage this banking, manage these HR issues, and she has meaningful work and doesn't have to be a corporate slave, that's a lot more useful than just giving someone an allowance. You know, build a reality where there's so much going on. You can say to family members, you can say even to your kids, all right, when it's time for you to have a bit of spare time on the weekend, you're going to come in and see Papa's businesses, and you're going to do this job, and you're going to get paid this. My son, every time he gets someone to do a Google review, he gets 20 dirhams. You know, have enough complexity to give meaningful work to your people, and then they can earn their own money. That to me is the goal, not just making a bunch of money for yourself. To what? Buy more cars, more watches, and travel to more nice places? I've done it all. It gets old.
Well, Dan Bilzerian says the same thing. He had everything. He's had the whole life, and he said the most happiest moments he had in his life was when he was on the beach with his boys having freedom.
That's real, man.
That's the
Adventures with the lads. That's a real form of wealth. That's a real form of wealth.
What does the next 5 years look like for custom-made reality? Do you have plans for expansion at all?
Bro, I'll be completely honest with you. A couple of months ago, I went to the mosque, and I sat there and I reflected on the fact that this shop is really busy. I didn't want that. I wanted this to be a nice, relaxed place to hang out, but we're pumping busy. We're having to hire new staff all the time. We're running overshifts. Like, there's a bit of work involved. And so I sat in the mosque, and I said, you know, in my own way, what's the lesson here? Why, when I'm trying to retire and live a nice, simple life, is this thing exploding? Because it's literally exploding here. We're so busy every day. And what I got was, it's not up to me. So to answer your question, where custom-made reality will be in 5 years, I don't think it's up to me. I think it's going to keep growing. I think we've found a formula that obviously works because we're just pumping. I think once we offer our shirts online, where you can send in your measurements, we send out a shirt. If it works, bang, you can print as many shirts as you want. I think this thing is going to absolutely explode. It wasn't what I wanted, but I've embraced it as, look, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants this to explode, it'll explode. And my goal now is I want a certain amount of tailors. I want to employ a certain amount of people. And I'm not looking at this as a profit-based thing. I'm looking at this as, I want my brothers to win, and I want this to be a very positive space for the guys to come together. It's not at all profit-based. So that's to me, it's quite satisfying.
Where did this idea for a custom-made reality come from? Okay. Why should a man build a custom-made reality? Why do you feel so good wearing tailored clothes? Why do people like us want to look so good and present ourselves like that to the world?
I mean, I think I'm going to have to give props here to the Tates when it comes to the idea of building a custom-made reality. Being able to step out of what society wants and say, you know what, I want to be the guy who can fight and shoot. I want to have nice cars. You know, I want to be that traditional masculine archetype warrior. And going and doing it, I think the Tates are great role models for that. So they helped me step out of that high-level corporate, you know, comfortable existence, but still slave existence. Man, when you are high-level corporate, you are a slave when it comes to time. When this calendar tells you need to get on a call, even if it's 2 a.m. and you're on a holiday, you're getting on a call. So it's still slave existence, just comfortable slave. The Tates helped me step out of that. And so when I was out of that, and I had many of my own businesses, it was like, hang on, after money, what's next? Because everyone who's on their grind is going to get to the point where money doesn't matter. It's diminishing returns. Yes, it's a big jump from no money to $1 million. Yes, it's a big jump from 1 million to 10. 30, 40, doesn't change anything. What, you're going to fly on a bigger private jet? Who cares? You know, like, it doesn't change anything. So for me, the ultimate form of, or the ultimate goal, once money doesn't matter and all these things are squared away when it comes to good relationships, you know, healthy kids, accolades, having seen the world, it's a custom-made daily reality. And this, again, I don't want to sound like a hippie, even though I grew up with hippie parents, but the energetic exchanges you have with people, you're either going to win or lose. It's going to lift you up or drag you down. When you walked in here, you felt a certain pickup energy-wise, right? Because it's a very positive space. There's only men in here, which is, to me, ties into it as well. Mothers are welcome. Anyone's mum is welcome, you know what I mean? But I don't need women walking in off the street. It's a lot simpler when we just make clothes for men, I'll tell you that. But when you have brothers on a certain frequency around each other, your day-to-day existence becomes very positive. And that's my goal now. So I don't have financial goals. I don't really have long-term goals at all, to be honest. I just want my day-to-day reality to involve positive energy exchanges. You're winning energy-wise from our interactions. I'm winning energy-wise from our interactions. That's to me, a custom-made reality. It started with clothes, then cars, then experiences, yachts, jets, all this sort of stuff. When you've done that, it's on a day-to-day basis. I want everyone around me to be uplifted and everyone to win. So that is, to me, the ultimate custom-made reality.
For a younger guy who's not quite so far into his career progression, you know, he's just starting out.
Yeah.
How does the custom-made reality start from there in that position?
Got to get your money right. There's no way around it. In today's day and age, you have to get your money right, especially if you want to be that provider, protector, and have a loyal woman with traditional values. Well, you've got to look after her. Like we all know these things, right? So to get your money right, you need to specialize in something that's useful, not necessarily something you enjoy. I didn't particularly enjoy being an infantry soldier, walking around on patrol with 60 kilos on my back, you know what I mean? Like, which I'm paying for to this day.
Yeah.
But it was useful, and I was good at it. Like, specialize in skills that are useful, and then just work harder than everyone else. Your late teens, your 20s, nothing should matter except building that capability to get you and yourself, your people paid. That work is all that should matter because your body can handle it.
Yeah.
30s, 40s, your body's not going to be able to do those 20-hour days. So specialize in a skill that is useful, that adds value. Get the people side locked in, because that's, you know, you can be the most technically brilliant guy in the world. If you don't know how to interact with people, no one's going to buy into your products and services. And then just work harder than everyone else. Once you got that money right in your late 20s, 30s, then start to think about enjoying yourself. And that's, at least that's what I did. Man, I spent my 21st birthday on the border of East and West Timor on patrol. You know, that 21st is when you're meant to be celebrating, right? I spent my 30th birthday in Iraq. I Zoomed my kids. I didn't even see, or Skype back then. Didn't even spend much time around my kids. You should sacrifice everything to build that empire in those years where your body can handle it. And then say from, 30s, mid-30s onwards, that's when you start to think about a supercar or living well. That's my personal philosophy anyway.
It's interesting. That's what's coming for us soon.
Yes.
Very soon.
Oh, this is a big one that I wanted to ask you about. How has being a father changed you? How was that feeling? Because I thought about it. I think about it quite a lot actually now these days. I don't know. I've just turned 25, but I have started thinking about having kids after always being kind of petrified of it. And now I do think, I do think about it. And I was wondering how that does change you, because everyone said that it's a big change, but I don't know how.
I'd say that having children redefines what you perceive love to be. Like your love for your son or for your daughter will be deeper and different than anything you've ever experienced. And also comes with a lot of work. I've noticed, especially that first kid, that's usually crunch time for a man. For some reason, it's a rule of the universe. In the majority of cases, when a man has his first child, his business is going to blow up or fall over, or, you know, like, it's real crunch time. It's real, you know, it's very challenging, especially that first child. For me, it's a real form of both fear and beauty having children, because I'm a capable guy. I can look after myself, right? Should anything happen to my kids, terrifying. So it's definitely something to aspire for, but just keep in mind, man, you're so vulnerable, because a part of you, maybe the best part of you that you value the most, is now outside of you. So it's terrifying. It's beautiful and terrifying at the same time to have kids. Let's put it that way.
Do you think a guy can successfully build an empire whilst having his first child?
If you have a woman who understands that your job is to work and not to mother, certainly. But if you have a wife who expects you to do the same as her while you're also working, the marriage is gonna fall over, your business will fall over. So a lot of that comes down to your partner, or you ideally have your money right first. That'd be a dream, but I think that's hard for most men. It's hard to be at the point where you can afford to not be working all the time and raise your kids. Again, I was in and out of all sorts of different war zones, doing all sorts of different things when my kids were little. The first time my son ate solid food, I was Skyping him from a war zone. You know what I mean? Like you have to sacrifice as a dad. Ideally, the woman understands that and she lets you do the masculine while she does the feminine.
Has that impacted the way you and your son's relationship now? Because a lot of people would say, yo, my dad wasn't around, things like that. When you were growing up, did you think that was a big impact, or it's not been a problem at all?
Not at all. And I need to, again, give credit to the Tates. I used to think that a dad should be a mum, should be around all the time. But then Tate said to me, no, you can still be an impactful, loving and engaged father and not see your kids all the time. And so to this day, my son's living with me now. Alhamdulillah, that's amazing. Full time. My daughter's still in Sweden. Anytime she messages me, even if she messaged me now on this podcast, I say, sorry guys, I'm going to take this.
Yep.
So she knows whenever she wants attention and love from the masculine, her father, she'll get it immediately. That's making sure she doesn't grow up with daddy issues, right? And so she is used to a good, caring, engaged father. She'll go and find a good, caring, engaged husband. But I'm not around her all the time. And she also understands Papa's working. I say, you're living well. That comes from me doing these things. Sometimes I'm not going to be able to go and play with you. Sometimes I'm going to have to work. You know, obviously nowadays I give them full focus, but back in the day, you have to teach them that Papa has to do Papa stuff.
Yep.
He loves you. He's present for you. He prioritizes you. It's just he has to do papa stuff. When you can get that balance right, you don't need to be around him all the time. And I'd say, if anything, as a man, you don't want to be around a screaming baby all the time, because how are you going to crush it in business if you're not sleeping ever? It's hard work when the kids are little. I think there are benefits to not being around that baby phase all the time if you're still trying to build your empire. And you can still be a caring, loving dad. When you're with your kids, give them full focus. It's part of the magic.
Yeah. I think it's fair to say the Tates have had a fairly large impact on all of our lives.
Right.
Me, certainly. So I'll give you a little backstory. When I first left my 9 to 5, I saved up. I worked in sales for 4 years in Bournemouth.
Nice.
And I saved up some money. I had 10 grand. And I decided I was going to try and make it on social media and be an online fitness trainer or something along those lines. So I started posting daily content. And I jetted off to Thailand, to Koh Samui, to try and build my brand from there, because I thought, if I can get in great shape and be tanned and be in this nice environment with the beach and that sort of stuff, it'd be easier for me to make a brand. So anyway, I went there and I did that, and it was a struggle. It was really, really hard trying to get my first business started, and there was many times I wanted to quit, and it was the time that I found Tate, and I used to watch Tate videos every morning. I used to think, I'm not going to quit. I'm going to go back out there. I'm going to do this every single day, and that was really the main thing I took from Tate. It gets a lot of bad press. The main thing I took was that work ethic, and it has completely changed my life. How did you meet the Tate brothers?
Yep. So, I think 6 years ago, I needed something done in Romania. Didn't have anyone in Romania. Noticed him on social media. Chatted. He helped in some way. And then I said, look, man, I appreciate that. I would like to host you at one of my weapons and tactics facilities. The closest one to you is Ukraine. Let's get you guys on the range. As a gesture. I wasn't really expecting him to say yes. He replied with, okay, when? I'm like, okay, so this guy's serious. And he followed up with me every week until I could get him on the range. And spending time with him, first of all, I saw an incredibly high level of physical and mental ability. They learned how to run a gun well, faster than anyone I've ever seen. And I've worked with professionals in this space for a long time. But it was the conversations that we had on the back of these range days where I realized, and I said, man, 6 years ago, I said these exact words while we're sitting over a lot of alcohol, but also cigars and things back in the day. I said to the Tates, the message you have is important for men out there. I'll do everything I can, and I bring a pretty useful global network to do everything I can to support your message getting out there. This is before, I think they had 100,000 followers on Instagram or something back then. I saw clearly, because it was obvious, what the world now knows, that these guys have a very powerful, very positively impactful message for the world. And I committed, and I still do, to contributing however I can in whatever way I can to help them get that message out there. It's needed in today's world.
Absolutely. I agree. I think one thing with the Tates as well that's changed my life and Jack's life and probably everyone's life in here is the war room. Yeah. And I think a lot of people underestimate the power of the network, and the experiences that I've had thanks to the war room have just been absolutely fantastic. But one little backstory of what happened to me and Jack when we was in IB for last year is that, we went through a pretty unpleasant situation of having our villa broken into, but this was actually
typical abusive.
Yeah, so that was about.
We shouldn't have been there.
We shouldn't have been there.
We shouldn't have been there.
This is crazy because we put a message into the war room, and Tate, in all the problems that he had going on at the time, he reached out and messaged me and said he'll look into it, and I thought that's something that meant so much to me, and nothing came of it, absolutely no problem. But the fact that he managed to reach out onto somebody who was just looking out for some help, and in all his problems, all his situation that was going on at the time, that meant so much to me. And I just knew that just shows the kind of person he is.
Well, the way I put it, and I've had this discussion with Andrew and Tristan, if you've got brothers all around the world who've got their money right, their physicality right, who aren't owned by a toxic relationship with a woman, that's capability. You cannot go wrong if you have capable, loyal brothers around the world. One of your businesses might fail, all 100 aren't. If you've got that strong brotherhood around the world, especially guys who want to support each other, who, like the fact that you do the van thing, mark my words, we're going to build an incredible van together because you're one of my brothers. Like, when you've got that sort of support globally, you can't go wrong. There's no single point of failure if you're just trying to rely on yourself. And that is the natural state of man. We're meant to have our brotherhood, our tribe. We're meant to go and conquer together. And what the Tates have built with the war room, every area of my life has benefited. From parenting to obviously, business, fitness, you name it. Like, it's on a daily basis, I benefit from and am grateful for the brotherhood that's in the war room. It's an incredible thing.
Yeah. How are they getting on now?
They're fine, bro.
All right.
To be honest, they're kind of built for this. They're built for combat. They're going to send them to jail? I don't think they even care. I think I'm more concerned about them than they are. At one point, Tate had to tell me, dude, just calm down. It's not that big a deal. Like, I was more emotionally engaged about this whole thing than he is.
That's wild.
But also, I was there when the ban of Instagram happened, and all the bad press peaked, and he lost his website, he lost his payment providers, everything. It all went down. Bruv, he was unfazed. You want to talk about walking the walk? How many other people in the social media space, if they lost their social media platforms and their banks and everything, would say, work, more work. Like, genuinely, I was there myself. He was unfazed. Like, Tate walks the walk, and that's why he's such a role model, because he is the real deal.
Why do you think that is?
I think a lot of it comes down to his dad and the way he was raised. His dad's a very principled, very masculine, very intelligent guy who raised him to see through the programming of the Matrix from a very early age. You know how a lot of us have to unprogram? Tate never had that. He was born and raised like without, with the ability to see through all that nonsense. And there's very strong, raw intellect to people don't realize. Like Tristan will listen to an audiobook on the history of a certain conflict in Asia 200 years ago. 6 months later, he can recount the whole thing. These are not normal people in terms of intelligence. They're deeply intelligent guys. So that physical ability, plus the mental ability, plus a father who managed to raise them so that they never had to recover from the blue pill conditioning. They never had to recover from all that matrix programming, and they were just on it from the start. That's what created the animals that they are today, that high output capability that they have, and that undying self-confidence. When I met Tate, I was still worried about money. I was doing well. I had a good job. I was doing very well financially compared to what someone should be doing at that age, but I was still worried. I was worried about, what if I don't have enough money? What if this? What if that? Tate is so unfazed that you could take away all his money, he literally wouldn't care because he knows he can make more. So I learned that undying self-confidence based on your own capability and that trust, like Tate talks about, he knows future Tate is going to be even more deadly than current Tate. That trust in your future self, like pure abundance in terms of the mindset, that really unlocks you from all that fear-based thinking. Tate is, if everyone's operating a certain way throughout life and they have a bunch of limiting beliefs that are like handbrakes, there's no handbrakes for Tate. He is pure output, pure go. Any thought that's in his head, he is put there, or his dad's put there, and his brother as well, to make sure that they have full optimal day-to-day high performance, physical, mental, everything. Like they're just, spend time around those guys. They are animals. They don't stop. It's amazing to be around.
Wow. This is the third time I've had a lengthy conversation with you, Jules, and the first two were life-changing, genuinely. So thank you very much. Before we knew each other, and it's helped me a lot, and this third one's been life-changing again. So just before we finish out, what's one thing you'd say to guys right now that are lost? If you could give them one piece of advice, they're lost or they're on the come up, how can they be more like the Tates, the guys that we admire?
Yeah, indeed. So what I'd say is, as a risk professional, I have a master's degree in risk management for what that's worth. A lot of people think, what can I do? I think it's quite important to think, what shouldn't you do? Yeah? And what you shouldn't. The one risk that I see with most young men is they get pulled off their path, they get pulled off their mission because of their balls. Yeah, you need to take that urge for sex, that testosterone, and channel it towards non-sexual things in order to conquer. But also in today's day and age, every new woman you bring into your bed is potential risk.
Yep.
Is it worth it?
Yep.
So I'd say young men be aware of the fact that the single biggest risk to you is that letting your balls do things without you using your brain, and you landing yourself in serious trouble. Energetic, physical, oops, there's a kid involved I'm now responsible for, legal. So watch out for that risk of letting your balls run your life. That's the key one. And then it's the fundamentals. You need to be disciplined on a daily basis, which means fitness. It means self-control and not consuming social media. You need the right brothers around you. That's absolutely key. Where do you find brothers if you can't afford the war? Get to a fight gym. Be around guys who go toe-to-toe with each other every day. That's masculine lads. That's guys you can rely on. That's guys who are grounded in reality. You can't walk around thinking you're the biggest guy in the world in a boxing gym. You get punched out. So I'd say go and find brothers in a fight gym. And man, it's not rocket science. Live the way men are meant to live. We're meant to eat dead animal. We're meant to lift heavy things. We're meant to fight with our brothers and build the warrior arts. And we're meant to find something that we're good at and just work all the time. Ignore the programming that says you shouldn't work all the time. In your 20s, that's all you should do. Work, that's it. Nothing else. And I think there's a lot of counter to that programming that you need to ignore nowadays.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having us, man.
Good fun.
It's been a pleasure.
Pleasure's mine, brother. Appreciate it. Cheers, dude. Thanks for coming.
Thank you, Jules.
Good fun, brother. Appreciate you. Cheers, mate. Thank you.
And that's a wrap.
Easy.
There wasn't any difficulty there at all. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much. That was perfect.